I never expected my career at Meridian Partners would culminate in being locked out of my office at 8:30 on a Monday morning. My belongings packed in a cardboard box by strangers. But as Director Alexandra Reynolds stood in the doorway, her practiced sympathy not quite reaching her eyes, I realized this wasn't just a routine corporate restructuring. This was calculated elimination. My name is Mira Kapoor, and this is how I transformed a devastating career setback into the most strategic business victory of my life. That crisp autumn morning had started like any other. I arrived at Meridian's gleaming headquarters at 7:15, as I had for the past 7 years. I greeted Hector at the security desk, picked up my usual latte from the lobby cafe, and headed to the 32nd floor where I served as Director of Acquisitions. The first sign something was amiss came when my keycard failed to unlock my office door. Before I could try again, Alexandra appeared at my elbow. "Mira, I was hoping to catch you," she said softly, glancing at the junior HR representative hovering nervously behind her. "Let's talk in the conference room." The conference room, not her office. Never a good sign in corporate politics. "What's going on, Alex?" I asked, attempting to keep my voice level as we entered the empty glass-walled room. 7 years of friendship, or what passed for friendship in investment banking, should have warranted some transparency. "I'm sorry to inform you that your position has been eliminated, effective immediately," she recited, sliding a manila folder across the table. "The board has decided to restructure the acquisitions team. Your severance details are all here." "Restructure," I repeated, my mind racing to piece together what was happening. "The Westbrook deal closes in 3 days. I've been working on it for 14 months. Alexandra smiled thinly. "The board feels that fresh leadership would benefit the final negotiations. Daniel Cooper will be taking over as Director of Acquisitions and handling the Westbrook closing." Daniel Cooper, of course. Alexandra's former Harvard classmate who joined Meridian just 11 months ago. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. "This is about Westbrook's pharmaceutical division, isn't it?" I said, the realization dawning. "You're cutting me out because I know the true valuation." Alexandra's smile disappeared. "This is a standard corporate restructuring, Mira. Nothing personal. Security has packed your personal items. Hector will escort you out." As I walked through the office holding my cardboard box, colleagues averted their eyes. People I'd mentored, collaborated with, celebrated successes alongside, all suddenly fascinated by their computer screens. Only my assistant Zoe caught my eye, her expression a mixture of shock and distress. I gave her a slight nod, hoping she understood what it meant. "We'll talk later." In the elevator, Hector shifted uncomfortably. "This ain't right, Miss Kapoor," he muttered. "After everything you've done for this company." "Thank you, Hector," I replied, oddly calm considering my career had just imploded. Sometimes the game changes when you least expect it. Outside, standing on the sidewalk with my sad box of desk plants and family photos, I should have felt devastated. Instead, a strange clarity washed over me. This wasn't just office politics. This was about the Westbrook Pharmaceuticals acquisition, the $2.7 billion deal that would be the crown jewel of Meridian's portfolio, and more importantly, the deal where I discovered something no one else knew. 3 hours later, I sat in my apartment surrounded by spreadsheets and notes I'd meticulously backed up over the past few months. Another lesson from 15 years in corporate finance: always keep receipts. As I reviewed the Westbrook due diligence documents, my suspicions crystallized into certainty. Westbrook's experimental drug division wasn't worth the $950 million Meridian was preparing to pay. Based on my research, including confidential FDA filing timelines I'd uncovered, it was worth closer to $1.8 billion. Nearly double. Someone was orchestrating a deliberate undervaluation. And now that I'd been removed from the equation, there was nothing stopping them from acquiring Westbrook's most valuable asset at a fraction of its worth. My phone buzzed with a text from Zoe. "They're announcing your departure as pursuing other opportunities. Cooper already moved into your office. Emergency board meeting tomorrow morning about Westbrook." They were moving fast, which meant I needed to move faster. I reached for my phone again, scrolling to a contact I hadn't used in almost 2 years. Eliza Westbrook, CFO of Westbrook Pharmaceuticals and granddaughter of the founder. We developed a rapport during initial negotiations, bonding over being women in male-dominated industries. Before I could reconsider, I pressed call. Mira Kapoor, her crisp voice answered. Interesting timing. I just heard you're no longer with Meridian. News travels fast, I replied. Aliza, we need to talk. Not about the acquisition directly, but about some irregularities I've discovered. Are you free for dinner tonight? A pause. The River Cafe, 8 p.m. Come alone. The River Cafe was deliberately public, a signal she wasn't looking for backroom dealings. As I prepared for our meeting, another text from Zoe arrived. Cooper requesting all your Westbrook files. Something about inconsistencies in the pharmaceutical valuation. Board seems concerned. So they were scrambling, realizing perhaps that I hadn't left all my insights neatly documented for them to use. Good. Eliza Westbrook was already seated when I arrived, a glass of wine in hand and an inscrutable expression on her face. At 45, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd never needed to prove her right to be in the room. I have exactly 1 hour, she said as I sat down. Explain these irregularities you mentioned. Meridian is significantly undervaluing your pharmaceutical division. I stated plainly, based on my analysis of your pipeline, particularly the Phase A results for WB 427, you're looking at a valuation approximately 90% higher than what's being discussed. Her expression didn't change, but I noticed her fingers tighten slightly around her wine glass. That's a serious claim, Mira, especially coming from someone who was just let go from the acquiring company. I was let go because I discovered the discrepancy, I countered, sliding a folder across the table. These are copies of my personal analysis. Page 4 shows the comparative valuation based on similar acquisitions in the sector. Page 7 details the projected revenue streams once WB 427 receives FDA approval, which my research suggests is highly likely. Eliza flipped through the documents, her practiced neutral expression finally giving way to a frown. These projections are significantly different from what we've been shown. I imagine they are, I replied. The question is, who benefits from Westbrook accepting less than fair market value for its crown jewel? She closed the folder, studying me with new intensity. What exactly are you proposing, Mira? Nothing unethical. I'm simply providing information that allows Westbrook to make fully informed decisions. What you do with that information is entirely your choice. And what do you get out of this? Information sharing? I smiled. Let's just say I have a vested interest in seeing fair valuations in the marketplace. As I left the restaurant an hour later, I knew I'd set something significant in motion. Eliza's parting words confirmed it. The board meets tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll be in touch. I slept surprisingly well that night for someone who just derailed her career. By morning, my strategy was clear. This wasn't just about exposing undervaluation. It was about positioning myself for what would come next. At precisely 10:17 a.m., my phone rang. Eliza's voice was clipped and professional. Our board has voted to pause all acquisition discussions with Meridian Partners, effective immediately. We've cited material concerns about valuation methodology in our formal communication. I see, I replied, keeping my tone neutral despite the surge of vindication. And may I ask what your next steps will be? That depends, he said. The board is interested in bringing in an independent advisor to reassess the pharmaceutical division's valuation, someone with sector expertise and a reputation for integrity. I suggested you might be available. And there it was, the opportunity I hadn't dared articulate even to myself. I would certainly be interested in discussing that possibility, I said carefully. Good, my office, 2 p.m. tomorrow. Come prepared to present your methodology to the executive committee. She paused. And Mira, this doesn't mean we're accepting your analysis at face value. We'll be conducting our own independent verification. I wouldn't expect anything less. As I hung up, my laptop chimed with an email notification. A message from a former colleague at Meridian. All hell breaking loose here. Westbrook pulled out this morning. Board emergency session. Cooper looks like he's about to have an aneurysm. What did you do? I didn't reply. Some questions answer themselves in time. The chaos at Meridian escalated throughout the day. By evening, financial news outlets were reporting that the Westbrook acquisition had been suspended due to valuation disagreements. Meridian's stock dropped 4% on the news. More satisfyingly, analysts were raising questions about how such an established firm could have so catastrophically misvalued a major acquisition target. At 9 p.m., my doorbell rang. Alexandra Reynolds stood in my hallway, looking considerably less polished than she had the previous morning. "May I come in?" she asked, her usual confidence notably absent. I stepped aside, gesturing her toward my living room. She declined my offer of coffee or wine. "The board sent me," she said without preamble. "Westbrook is claiming we deliberately undervalued their pharmaceutical division. They're threatening to file SEC complaints alleging market manipulation." "That sounds serious," I replied, keeping my expression neutral. "They've hired an independent advisor to conduct a new valuation," she continued, watching me closely. "Rumor says it's you." I didn't confirm or deny. "What does this have to do with me, Alexandra? I was terminated, remember? Standard corporate restructuring." She had the grace to look uncomfortable. "The board believes there may have been hasty judgment in your termination. They're prepared to offer you your position back, with a substantial compensation adjustment, to clean up Daniel Cooper's mess. Daniel has been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation." I let the silence stretch between us, enjoying the role reversal more than I probably should have. "I appreciate the offer," I finally said, "but I've already accepted another professional opportunity." "With Westbrook?" she asked sharply. "As I said, I've accepted another opportunity. Now, unless there's something else, I have an early morning tomorrow." After she left, I allowed myself a moment of pure satisfaction. Not vindication. That was too small a word for what I was feeling. This was the recognition of having played a longer, smarter game than those who'd underestimated me. My meeting with Westbrook's executive committee the next day exceeded all expectations. My detailed presentation on the pharmaceutical division's valuation, particularly around their groundbreaking immunotherapy pipeline, was met with engaged questions and thoughtful discussion. By the end, I'd been offered not just the independent advisor role but a 6-month contract as special advisor on corporate strategy, a position created specifically for me. 3 months later, Westbrook announced it was pursuing strategic alternatives for its pharmaceutical division. My valuation, $1.79 billion, was cited in their official materials. Major pharmaceutical companies launched a bidding war that eventually reached $2.1 billion. Meridian Partners wasn't among the bidders. Their reputation had taken a significant hit from the failed acquisition attempt, with several key clients quietly moving their business elsewhere. Daniel Cooper had resigned to pursue other opportunities. Alexandra Reynolds had been reassigned to a smaller division. As for me, when my contract with Westbrook concluded, I had multiple offers to consider, including one to lead my own acquisition advisory firm backed by a consortium of investors impressed by my work. I named it Kapoor Partners with a simple mission statement: integrity in valuation, transparency in transaction. Our first client, a pharmaceutical company looking to ensure fair market value in their upcoming acquisitions. Sometimes I think about that Monday morning when I stood on the sidewalk with my cardboard box, seemingly defeated. What Alexandra and Meridian never understood was that my value wasn't in my title or office. It was in my knowledge, my integrity, and my willingness to stand by my analysis even when it was inconvenient. In business, as in life, your reputation is built on substance, not appearances. Meridian sought quick profits through undervaluation. I saw accuracy and fair dealing. In the end, the market rewards the latter far more handsomely than the former. When young professionals ask me about the secret to my success, I tell them the truth. Your greatest professional triumph may arrive disguised as your worst career disaster. The key is recognizing the opportunity hidden within the crisis and having the courage to pursue it when others expect you to retreat. That and always keep backup copies of your work.